what you're seeing that's us. That there's a lot of training behind those few seconds that you've seen so far in the trailer. Like, it's him. He put in the work. We both put in the work, but he specifically put in a ton of work because he's not a martial artist. You know, I go in there with a certain sense of confidence and familiarity with my body, and he's very athletic, very hardworking, but, you know, I give him so many props for being able to pick that up, but he had to put the hours and hours and hours where many stars might not have cared to do all that extra work. You know, they might have said, oh, just let my double do it. But, you know, Quentin was adamant, Brad was adamant that we do it, and it's us. So, really cool. So I was actually, I was auditioning for a show on HBO called Insecure. There was a role that I was being considered for, and I had to go out to LA. I had to do like the next round. It was like a producer session. And the day before I left, I got a call from my agent saying, hey, Mike, we just got off the phone with the casting director of Quentin Tarantino's new film, who also happens to be the same casting director for this show. And they want to see you tomorrow. So, you know, I had to book my flight, and I think I had to change things around because I wasn't planning on going out there for a few more days. But I had to be there the next day to audition for this. So, and it was so secretive that I didn't know what I was auditioning for until I got there. And then I did my audition for the other TV show. I kind of didn't do so great because I was so anxious about what this other thing was. And then they gave me the sides, the audition pages, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. So I had literally like 24 hours to prepare. And then I went to Mehdi Morali's house, who is another brother of ours, and I just drilled that scene for hours and hours and hours, and did my first audition the next day. And then from there was 3 other trips. I had to fly myself back and forth, and it was a long, arduous process that I had to like claw and fight. And eventually, after I think it was like 2-month process, I finally won the role. I think we've made a huge leap forward in terms of representation, and not only representation, seeing Asian faces on, you know, film and TV shows, but more importantly, I think movies, obviously like Crazy Rich Asians, have shown that we're bankable. You know, if you put Asian people on the screen, the studio's worried nobody's going to go pay. But I think that myth has been, you know, squashed, and it's really exciting to see a lot of Asian leads. And not only that, they're not stereotypical leads anymore. They're romantic leads, they're action, they're not just martial arts. There's so many different types of people because honestly, I think the more media can portray the world, I mean, the world's a very diverse place, and I think now that it's starting to represent that, it's a lot more accessible to a lot more of the population. I think without martial arts, I wouldn't have, you know, had inroads towards the entertainment business. So when I first struck out to, you know, take on Hollywood, I actually had a chance to work with Jackie Chan in Hong Kong, and that was strictly because of my aptitude in martial arts. So all that work that I put in led me to that opportunity, which opened my eyes to being on a film set with Jackie Chan, one of my heroes. So after that, my wife and I, we just got married. We're like, okay, this is the time to strike. While, you know, my passion for this new endeavor is there. We drove across country to LA, and without any experience other than just a few high school plays where I was just a minor character, I was like, I'm gonna make this happen. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but I'm gonna work my butt off. I'm gonna study. I'm gonna apply everything that I did to become a strong martial artist, to become a strong actor. And, you know, little by little, I gained confidence with these roles and said, hey, I did that, I can do this next thing, and here we are. And now I get to kind of live both dreams that I've had as a kid, becoming an action actor and entertainment person, and also owning my own martial arts school, similar to what Bruce Lee did when he was younger as well. So a year before I enrolled at University of Minnesota, my parents actually moved away from Minnesota. They moved to Korea. So I actually spent my senior year in high school living at a friend's house. So I was in Minnesota, and when I got to college, I had literally no family. none. I mean, I had a few, I think I moved into my first dorm with a high school friend, so that was like my one familiar thing. But when I got to college, I remember moving in the dorm, and next door to me, I met the first two friends that I had in college, Travis Severson and James Annunciation. So when I saw those guys, I remember just being like this really naive and just, hi guys. So we became fast friends, and I just remember thinking, wow, man, where are they going to at like odd hours of the night? They're like doing these things that's very like secret agent-like, and pretty soon I just kind of fell into their friend circle, and I was like, hey, what's this? I think that's kind of how we all get in there. We just become friends with somebody, and we see how much they're into it and how much it's helping them. So for me, joining the fraternity Sigma Lambda Beta was all about having a second family, and that's what it's been. That you have to rely on others, you have to be trustworthy yourself, and you also have to put your trust in others to go far. And I think the biggest thing is you talk about balancing a lot of stuff. When you're in college, it's tough enough as it is, but living on your own for the first time, exams, feeding yourself, trying to do laundry, all this adult stuff, and then you add in this rigorous thing that we won't talk about. I mean, that just adds a lot more pressure, and I think there's something to be said about diamonds being formed under pressure, and when you can make it through, you feel this bond that, hey man, I did it. And I know that all across the country there are brothers that went through the same thing, had the same struggle, but they're with you because they know what you've been through. They know that you're mentally, physically strong. So I've shot a movie called Killer Man, which is a Liam Hemsworth kind of mystery / detective / thriller action movie.
That's Miley Cyrus's
yes.
husband? Did you meet Miley Cyrus at all?
I didn't meet Miley.
Okay.
Hung out with Liam a bit.
Okay.
Really nice guy. So that's coming out at the end of August. There's a couple projects that I'm in negotiations for. So those haven't been official yet, so I can't really say. But there's some good stuff in the works. And I'm hoping that after the movie comes out, there'll be some more opportunities that I can hopefully find my next project that I can have some fun on. There was about a 6-month period where we had decided we're going to LA. And we had 6 months before we were going to make the trip out. I remember taking acting classes. As soon as I decided, I took action, and I enrolled in like an acting program in the Twin Cities, And I just remember, I'm going to be as prepared as I can in this 6 months. I'm going to learn as much as I can in this 6 months. I read multiple books. I did so much research on the internet. I was in acting classes. So by the time I got out there, I had a good idea of what to do already. Whereas a lot of people go out there with nothing, and they expect to become a big star, and they're like, well, what do I do? And then for years, they're just figuring out how the business works. So I was smart in that I was prepared. And then when I got out to LA, I was enrolled in, I probably had about 4 or 5, 6 acting coaches, different things. But I think for me, the way I've improved as an actor is just living a varied and a interesting life. So becoming a father was probably one of the biggest things that really helped me turn a corner. Just seeing life through the perspective of somebody that might be cranky, somebody that's angry, somebody that's tired, And a lot of times that was me, because as a young father, you go through so many emotions, being a husband. When I first started, I didn't have that much life experience. So it's hard to draw from these experiences that you might not have had and make them authentic. But now every moment of my life is kind of like an acting exercise. Like, oh, I felt angry, or I felt lonely, or I felt vulnerable. What did that feel like? And now I have so many things that I can just, it's kind of like when my daughter said this. And it's some of it's training that I use from coaches, and some of it's just my internal experience. So to put it in perspective, 2 years ago, I landed what I thought was going to be my big break. So I landed a role on the Marvel TV show Inhumans. So at the time, I was thinking, when I got that call, I was like, they told me, be ready to maybe be on the show for 5, 6 years. It's going to be a huge hit on a network show. And I was like, wow, they're sending me out to Comic-Con, making us feel celebrities and all this stuff. And then series 1, cancellation. I didn't even get my chance to like get my main character arc because most of my stuff was in season 2 and beyond. So I didn't even get to really do much in the show. I'm glad I got to do it, and it was still a great experience, but you know, network TV, Quentin Tarantino, you know. Tarantino to many people is the greatest director of all time to many people, so I would say it's a pretty big come up. It's a pretty improbable jump from what I've been doing, Power Ranger type show to Street Fighter, internet series to Quentin Tarantino. For me, I'm geeking out. I'm super excited. I'm still kind of like, how did this happen?